Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to this week's youth message. Today we're going to keep going on our character series. I am hanging out in the sanctuary because I didn't get a chance to film on the weekend. So we're going to talk about a character that comes up around the middle of the Bible, and his name is Job. Now, sometimes if I stub my toe or experience a minor inconvenience, I like to say as a joke, why do bad things happen to good people? And I mean that lightheartedly, and I'm not really being serious, but Job is a character in the Bible that probably experienced this in a very real way. I think the story of Job has a unique relevance these days. It's about a guy who was by all means good, but he fell on hard times. And the story tells us that this is because of some kind of cosmic bet between God and Satan. So Satan, the accuser in this story, wants to prove that Job wouldn't be so good if he didn't have all of the possessions that he had. And so he asked God to take everything away, and God says, okay, you can take whatever you want, just don't take his life. But you can take away everything, and you'll see that Job will still be faithful to me. So that happens. He loses his wealth, his house, his family, his animals, everything that probably gave him status at this time. And his friends begin to kind of rebuke him, saying things like, who that is innocent has ever perished, and what's another one? If you direct your heart rightly and you stretch out your hands towards him, surely you will be secure. They're saying that if he was really good, then these things wouldn't be happening to him. And so Job is arguing against this, trying to prove that he's righteous, and his argument gets fiercer and fiercer until he decides to take it up with God himself. So God eventually responds with this multiple chapter long writing about his strength and power. Interestingly, he never addresses Job's biggest complaint, which was that there was no justice in his situation. So let me read from this book here. Something that an author said about it. He says, God is not interested in the primal human question that drives the wisdom tradition, that haunts the human heart, and that has preoccupied Job. The thing is, this book doesn't ever really answer that question. Why is there no justice in the situation of Job? So instead of this answer that we're looking for, God responds with explaining how incredible, how creative, how powerful, and how strong he is. The book gives us an incredible picture of the strength of God, and eventually Job repents. Job says, I was wrong to question you. And then God actually restores all of his fortune. He gives back, and he gives back double of what Job originally had. Now, here's what I pull from this story. It's a very long story, and there's 42 chapters in the book, and I've just explained it in 2 minutes here. But I think that there's a good lesson for us today that can be pulled out that's quite simple. I think that the reason there's a mismatch between Job's question and God's answer is because we don't know. Quite frankly, we don't know why there are injustices in the world. We don't know why bad things happen to good people. And why, bad people in this life don't often get bad things, and often good people don't get good things. It would be nice if the Bible told us that good things would happen to good people and bad things would happen to bad people, but it doesn't. Life is often far more complicated than that. So instead, we need to redirect our question to something else. Instead of asking, why is there injustice in the world? We need to be resting in the fact that we serve a God that is so good and so powerful and so strong and will never forsake his promises. See, God is so much better than the injustices that we experience. And while we don't understand the answers to a lot of stuff now, we don't understand why people are being affected by this disease and why it's having an economic impact and all of the negative things. We don't understand why that happens. But we do understand that God is in control. We understand that God is good and that he created everything. And so we can rest in the fact that we know that our Creator is good. And we can rest in the fact that God does not fail in his promises. And so while this may feel like a non-answer, that's kind of the way that things are sometimes. Sometimes there are injustices, sometimes there are things that are unfair. But we can rest in the fact that we have a God who loves us, that we have a God that's sovereign over everything. And we know that he has promised us good things, and we can trust in him. So the book of Job, for me, it opens up a whole box of real honest questions of, why are things the way that they are? But I think that Job answers these questions by explaining the power of God. And so I just want to leave you with that this week. When you're questioning why things are happening, those are valid questions. But you can trust in the fact that God is good and that God is powerful, and that nothing here is a surprise for him. And you should pray, and you should keep praying with each other. You should keep asking each other questions. You can keep contacting me and people here at the church, and we love to have those discussions and make sure that you're doing okay. So to conclude, I'm going to leave you with a verse in Job 42, right at the very end of the book. It's Job talking to God. He says, and this is from the Message translation, he says, "I'm convinced you can do anything and everything. Nothing and no one can upset your plans." So that's the God that we believe in. That's the God that we are following. So have a great week. I'll see you in our weekly Zoom meeting. Stay tuned on the Instagram and the YouTube page for more updates if anything's changing. Have a great week. We'll see you then.